This video is a film study look at Byron Murphy's role in the Seattle Seahawks 31-17 win on the road over the Steelers in Week 2. I think it's a win that over the course of the season is going to prove valuable, not just from a win-loss standpoint, but because, in my opinion, Pittsburgh is a 10-plus win team if everyone stays healthy. I know that opinion is in the minority, particularly among Ravens fans in the AFC North, but Murphy and the defensive line, I thought, really gave trouble or difficulty to what I think is the relative weakness possibly of the Steelers' offense, and that's their offensive line. Murphy had 5 tackles, 1.5 sacks, very disruptive against the run. I'm going to get the film started here. We've got 7 plays queued up for you. He'll be spot shadowed in yellow pretty much most of the time. This is a somewhat interesting or unique same-side run concept with 2 running backs in the game for the Steelers. Essentially, I would call it a same-side run. Almost looks a little bit like dart, where the tackle is going to pull and kick out the edge defender. And in this case, that edge defender is Boye Mafe. First of all, and second of all, he kind of goes underneath and forces the running back to basically bounce it. The Steelers do not handle this well at the center right guard position. I don't think these guys are on the same page in terms of who to block, and it really lets Murphy kind of slide through here unabated or unblocked. Same play from the end zone angle. What I think you would anticipate here from a blocking scheme standpoint is something like this, whereby the center and the backside guard, the left guard, combo Murphy and maybe try to work up to the backside inside linebacker. In any case, that's not what actually occurs. They do pull the tackle to kick out Boye Mafe along the right-hand side. It's a same-side run concept. So the running back on the same side, I think it's Gainwell. Warren is on the opposite side. Warren's going to try to cut or chop down, I think, the backside edge defender, Lawrence. Watch how they try to block it, or I guess actually don't. The center, Frazier, works up quickly, and he looks like he's positioning himself to cut off the backside inside linebacker, Ernest Jones IV. Meanwhile, that would leave the right guard to scoop or try to take over Murphy. Doesn't happen. He's able to slide through there quickly. Borderline tackle for loss, if you ask me. I thought the whole D-line was very active and just hostile. Starting with Leonard Williams, what else? What is there to say about him? I will have a film study out about Leonard Williams on Tuesday with some film encompassing Week 1 and Week 2, both games. Jerron Reed played well, had a sack of Aaron Rodgers, his former teammate. Derek Hall had 2 quarterback hits, and I think got held at least twice, one of which was definitely called. And then Byron Murphy. Maybe it's the best game he's played statistically in the NFL. Look, he's got more quarterback hits through 2 weeks than he had all of his rookie season in 2024. Moving forward here, third possession. Everyone's going to work down here. It's a split zone, essentially. Second guy through. So the first guy through is a motion man. Second guy through would be the tight end or H-back, who would kick out the edge defender on the opposite side. And this is a matchup that happened multiple times in this game, and that's Murphy versus the left guard, who's been around for a little bit for the Steelers. And I think that position has been one that it's not a position of strength for them. And to me, Murphy won that battle, and he needs to win that battle as a first-round pick and someone that Seattle fans, the Seattle front office, and coaching staff, they're expecting him to make plays like this. He's peaking a little bit once he gets control of the defensive tackle, so you can see his head end up looking to the side to try to find the football. That's not where I think it's Jaylen Warren goes. Warren is a bowling ball, man. He's a handful. I will tell you, as a Ravens fan, we've had real difficulty with him in various games, but Seattle did a great job against the run. 21 carries overall for Pittsburgh's running backs for only 72 yards. Like I said, that whole defensive line took turns making plays. The left tackle is going to work up to Ernest Jones IV, the Mike linebacker. And what that does is it leaves this right guard, 73, one-on-one with Byron Murphy. And you'll see that he ends up peaking, like I said, on this side of the guard and then able to shed or toss 73 off of him and work back to the inside. I think this is Knight in here with first contact as well, along with Murphy on the play. Like I said, Murphy had 5 tackles. He had 3 quarterback hits, which is really cool, and the 1 TFL from a sack. 2nd and 4 on the 4th possession. Seattle does lead 7-0, but DK will catch a touchdown a couple of plays later. This is some ninja-type stuff. The way that it works, by the way, there's a 1 inside linebacker look here. So Knight would normally be, in this area as an inside linebacker. There's no such thing as an off-ball linebacker, but in any case, It's a solo inside linebacker look. They've moved Knight up to an edge defender position. You're getting basically a combo on Murphy and then a combo here. I believe that's Reed. But check out what Murphy does. He really kind of grabs the center and flings him backwards. And you can see that his knee is down on the ground. Quickly, he understood what was coming. Knee is down on the ground, and then he's able to just basically grab 54, expertly and smartly. It must have been inside frame of 54's body. That's Frazier. He's a good player because the refs didn't call it. Now, Warren does pick up the first down. It's a 2nd and 4, like I said, and they do score 2 plays later. My point in showing you is he knows what he's doing. In my opinion, he knows how to deal with different blocking schemes. That in that particular instance, taking a knee, old school technique maybe, but he understands his job in a particular situation. And the one inside linebacker look, I think there may have came back to bother or cause Seattle to give up the first down a little bit easier than they would have if Knight was at his typical position and not lined up as an edge defender. As an aside, the tackle on that play was obviously Ernest Jones IV. Man, I did a film study video on him last week after the Week 1 loss to the 49ers. If you haven't checked it out, please consider doing so. I'll link it up in the description here. Second quarter, it's a 4-man rush, and once again, we're going to have Byron Murphy battling with Pittsburgh's left guard. There's 3 guys lined up on the one side, and they're going to execute a little bit of a stunt here, if you will. Murphy is going to try to cross the center's face, and like I said, end up dealing with the left guard. Mafe getting upfield and then folding underneath of, that is Leonard Williams with the blue line emanating from his position. In addition to that, they will chip with the tight end. Pittsburgh seemed to do this a ton to their left. I'm not sure what that means, comparing their 2 tackles. They're both young. But in any case, Byron Murphy has worked his way into a spot to be one-on-one with the left guard. And you'll see that, he does get some push. It's late push. I'm not saying that this throw occurs because Byron Murphy is in the window. That's not what I'm saying. But he pushes the pocket a little bit late. Perhaps doesn't influence Rodgers' throw at all. It's a poor decision by Rodgers, the throw that hits Kendrick in the helmet. And then I think Kobe Bryant basically ends up playing DB to try to smack the ball away after it's deflects in the air. Here's the same play from the end zone angle. Ball's on the right hash, like I said. And there's the stunt. Chip by Freiermuth, who's a really, really underrated tight end. I just didn't know what people were talking about, that his targets and his usage was going to get phased out. Man, they love him in Pittsburgh. He's a really good player. What this does is a lot of things. It puts some stress on the right side of the offensive line for the Steelers with this stunt, and then it actually helps generate or create a one-on-one for Murphy with the left guard, and I like the matchup there. It wasn't an instant win, don't get me wrong. But once he decides, once he recognizes what he's supposed to do, and again, you got him taking a peek here on this side at the quarterback to see what's happening, and then once he decides to power his way towards the quarterback, I like this move from Murphy. They're locked up with each other. They're both grabbing each other's jerseys. I mean, so what? But he's a good guy in terms of collapsing the pocket. He being Byron Murphy. It's a poor throw anyway, but you can see Rodgers unable to get really into it completely. I think it could have been a better throw, but there's a very, very small window there, in my opinion, even for a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I think perhaps I misspoke or mistyped the information earlier. That play was actually on the 5th possession. This one is the last play of the second quarter. The Seahawks are trailing 14-7. So Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy are going to split the sack here, I believe. Works his way to the inside again against the left guard. They're going to chip Leonard Williams. You can't blame them. They're going to chip him with Freiermuth. And then the left tackle. And then, believe it or not, the running back comes through here, and he gets a chip on the outside shoulder of Leonard Williams as well. But Murphy works his way against the left guard. And what I love about him, at least in this game, and I think you see some evidence of it last week, is his ability to redirect despite contact. And in this case, he's tried to rip up and dislodge himself, get past that left guard, if you will. And the left guard keeps working. Credit to him. He keeps working. Byron Murphy's able to get his cleats in the ground. You can't see his feet, but his cleats in the ground such that he can dig, push off and explode back into Aaron Rodgers. I think this is a great play because it's not an immediate pass rush win. I think it's a great play because it shows you the type of sack that Byron Murphy can get. Look, all the attention afforded to Leonard Williams, it makes sense, right? That's not going anywhere. He's one of the best defensive linemen in the league. I don't call him a defensive tackle. I don't call him a defensive end. He's just a football player. He's just a badass defensive lineman. We would expect that to continue. I think it tells you what other teams' offenses, other teams' coaching staffs think of Leonard Williams. Murphy's going to get these moments, I think, consistently, whereby he's got an opportunity. I don't really want to say one-on-ones, but chances to work against a player in an isolated manner such that he can find a way to win the longer the play develops. Those guys are valuable, if you ask me, in the pass rush dynamic. 2 more plays here. Actually, to be honest with you, Murphy's not on the field here. He only played 39 snaps, I guess only, compared to the previous week, but that needs to be taken into consideration that Pittsburgh only ran 59 plays overall. So he still played a pretty large percent of the snaps in this game. I put this one in here because it's Leonard Williams. It's a 3rd and 6 for the Steelers, and Aaron Rodgers is going to scramble. Seems kind of silly, right? But down here to the bottom side, you've got Julian Love and Josh Jobe. Jobe is matched up with DK. And I thought he played well yesterday. I'd like to do a standalone video on him. Here's Rodgers escaping out of the pocket, and there is Leonard Williams, who's going to check the size and length of him. The play that he made yesterday, Leonard Williams, on an incomplete pass, where he basically, he may have committed a horse collar on Rodgers, running by him. It was just an amazing play to illustrate his frame, what he's able to get accomplished from a reach standpoint. The matchup of Jobe and DK there I thought was important. Julian Love, it doesn't surprise me. All of the underrated guys seem to have an impact, and I think that's why this win looks better the more that I think about it and the more that I look at it, because so many, quote, role players, and I don't really consider Byron Murphy a role player, but so many guys who are a little bit further down the depth chart had an impact in getting a road win against a tough Pittsburgh Steelers team. Finally, his lone sack. This is 4th quarter, or his lone solo sack, I should say. They're already up by 14. And so there's a little bit of a looping stunt here. It's a 4-man rush. And so this is Byron Murphy's path around to the edge. After initially lining up at defensive tackle, he kind of loops second, an ET stunt, if you will, around, I think that's Boye Mafe and the left tackle. Rodgers has gone through his reads pretty quickly down here to the bottom side, and then back up to the top as well. I think it's Knight covering the running back, Warren. Nothing doing there. And then Murphy, one more time, is going to be able to shed later on in the play. That persistence of athleticism we're talking about here, I know we're zoomed out, but the end zone angle isn't fantastic of this one. That persistence, that ability to maintain or retain explosiveness deeper into the play, that's important in my opinion. You're going to get more of those types of sacks than you're going to get clean wins as a defensive tackle. Unless I did my research wrong, he's already exceeded his sack total from 2024, his rookie season, and also exceeded his number of quarterback hits. ET stunt, I think. So the defensive end goes first. It's not Mafe, it's Hall, my apologies. And then Murphy loops around. And what I want to focus on, what I like the most, and I recognize that some people will have a different opinion, I like the fact that he's winning in these situations later in the play. In my opinion, that's just as important as the early clean wins. We'll let this just flow through 2 or 3 times. Those guys are almost like holding hands for a moment. Murphy shrugs him off. Broderick Jones, the left tackle for the Steelers. I thought it was a great performance for Byron Murphy. As you guys know, if you've watched any of my content, a huge fan of Leonard Williams, as well as Devin Witherspoon and Julian Love. But focusing on the defensive line, to me, this looks like a better version of Murphy than we saw last year. A lot closer to the one that fans envisioned and hoped for from his college film. I really thought he put some good moves on in this game. It's a quality win, as I said. You're more than welcome to let me know if you disagree with what I'm talking about in terms of Byron Murphy. If it's wishful thinking for me, I am glad that he had an impact against the Steelers. I personally think the Steelers are going to win a lot of football games. They improved or upgraded their talent at many spots. Quarterback, DB, They specifically improved a lot at corner, even though I think Jalen Ramsey had some difficulties with just foot speed yesterday. But the one place I thought Pittsburgh had a relative weakness that maybe could be exploited was the offensive line. And the Seattle's front 6 or 7 did that. Williams, Reed, Murphy, Lawrence. If you include Derek Hall in that group, they all took turns coming up huge. That group, I think, combined for 17 tackles, all 3 of the sacks, 8 quarterback hits, which was all the quarterback hits that Seattle generated. They played a physical brand of football on defense, one to be proud of, to go on the road and get a win. I've got no idea what other people are saying about this win. I think it's a really good one that should be praised. Murphy, to me, was right there playing a big role. I'm excited to see all the talent that there is on that side. And in my opinion, Byron Murphy is really exploding right now in the film that I have watched from week 1 and week 2. You're more than welcome to let me know if you agree or disagree with that in the comment section, as well as critique the plays that I use to illustrate the quality of play that I think Byron Murphy turned in Seattle's 14-point road win over the Steelers. Appreciate you guys' time.